I'm Chef Eric Bruner-Yang. Today we're presenting Home for the Holidays, presented by Washingtonian magazine and Stella Artois. I'm going to cook something that I love to make at home with my kids, always around this time of the year as we go into Chinese New Year. We're going to make some amazing Taiwanese style scallion pancakes. I'm excited to walk you through this, and please enjoy. All right, for the scallions pancake, our first step is we're going to make the dough. We're going to start with 300 grams of bread flour or all-purpose flour or double O flour, just whatever flour you have in the house, really not that big of a deal. Just a little bit of salt just to add to bring the flavor out that we got going on. What's really great about this recipe, it's just very easy. It's 4 or 5 ingredients. It takes maybe about an hour. There's no proofing overnight or resting, none of that, okay? So then we're gonna go ½ cup of water, hot water, boiling hot water. And for our little twist, you usually do ½ cup of hot water and then ½ cup of cold water. We're gonna do the other half with this delicious Stella Artois beer. Hopefully the yeast and this extra flavor that makes this great beer will just add another dimension to your dough. Just need a fork, and what we're gonna do here is we're just gonna kind of push the liquid around in the dough to get these little dough clumps going on. Old school, no electric equipment, just the way it should be. All right. This, we're just kind of activating the dough, mixing the hot water. You can really smell the flavors of the beer. And we're just kind of getting this to a point so we can start kneading it, right? Once it's really kind of like clumping to your fork here, we're just gonna take it, flip it over onto your table, and then we'll finish it out. So now we're really just kind of mushing it all together, kneading this thing by hand, getting everything going. If you have a dough scraper at your house, you can kind of keep it moving, doesn't get stuck. Just need a little bit of flour here to keep it from sticking. I'm just gonna work this. It's nice and soft. The cold beer kind of makes it really easy to work with. Remember, we poured some boiling water up in this. All right. This process right here takes about 5 minutes. All we're doing is just mushing and mushing. All right, so you should need this dough about 5 to 10 minutes. It'll stop kind of like clinging to the table. It's gonna stop clinging to your hands. And you go from there. And once you kind of do that, you're just gonna form it into a really nice ball, right? Put it on the edge of your table, and then you kind of like with a damp towel, you would just put a damp towel over it and you would let it rest, okay? For the purposes of keeping it going, we have one ready to go. And it's basically gonna go from this, which is kind of like, has its own look, to this very nice glossy sheen dough. Okay. All right, the next step of the scallion pancake, you have your beautiful dough that's rested. It's gonna be ready to rock. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna make the scallion pancake filling. So I chopped these scallions earlier. This is roughly like 20 grams. You're just gonna salt it a little bit. This will help pull some of the water and flavor out. Kind of mush it in. You notice like kind of every step of the way, we're always just adding a little bit of salt. So when you put it all together, you have all the flavor you need. And then we're basically gonna kind of make a slurry. So we're gonna roll the dough out, and then you're gonna have to have a slurry. So when you put the scallions on the dough, there's something for it to stick with. This is a ½ cup of vegetable oil, but you can use butter, you can use lard, you can use coconut oil, peanut oil, kind of whatever flavor you're looking for. And it would still be the same size. So a little oil, a little bit of flour for your slurry. Okay. I'm gonna whisk that up a little bit. It's gonna kind of look like gravy. And like we mentioned earlier, just a touch of salt. All right. So, scallion pancakes, slurry, scallion dough. All right. So with this 300 grams, we're going to break it up. Let's say 6 portions. Cool. See how this goes. This dough should kind of have a consistency of a fresh jar of Play-Doh. All right. So then you make these little balls, which you kind of do this kind of fold and then a pinch, and then kind of roll it a little bit. All right. Fold in half, a little pinch. All right. Okay. Touch of flour. Press with your hand just to flatten it out a little bit. All right. Just gonna kind of roll this out some. Try to get this as thin as possible, because what's really great about a scallion pancake is all the cool layers, and we can't get the layers if we can't make this super thin or thin-ish. The Stella in the dough is giving this really nice kind of springy texture, which means when we eat it, it's going to have really good chew and lots of flavor. Okay. All right, so the cool thing is it does not need to be a perfect circle. All right, so we take our slurry. We're going to kind of baste the dough here. Okay. All right. Take your scallion, sprinkle generously. And then we're going to roll this up, pulling it a little bit as we roll it. Okay, and like a nice long spring roll. You're going to take that same slurry, give it a little bit of shine here, touch of salt on the dough, and then you're just going to kind of roll it up like a roly-poly. Okay. So it almost looks like a cinnamon bun. All right, now that we've made these kind of like cinnamon bun looking type shapes, we're going to, what you basically have is like this snail. You're gonna smash it down so you can kind of have this really cool swirl going on. All right. Kind of that same bag that I had the dough in earlier. You can do this with like a Ziploc bag or plastic wrap at your house. This will just basically help you roll this out really thin. because you kind of have these layers going on, you need to kind of do this so that they don't open up too much. This is kind of like classic in any immigrant household, whether you're making tortillas or scallion pancakes or something, there's always like a piece of plastic rolling out some dough. All right, so I know that not everyone's gonna have this really cool setup at your house, but I would recommend cooking this on a non-stick pan at your house the first time. That way you can decide how much oil you want to use or whatever, and you don't have to worry about it sticking. If you do have a flat top, my flat top's at 400, which would be roughly like a medium on your setting at home. All right, see the little heat coming off the oil? There we go. So while this cooks, you know, obviously it's the holidays, it's been a really long year, and everyone is always reaching out and say, hey, how can we help? What can we do for restaurants? You know, we know everyone is struggling, and obviously we want to say, hey, you know, thank you so much for supporting my places, ABC Pony and Maquetto, and my nonprofit, the Power of 10 Initiative. We're really grateful for all that support, and you know, obviously one of the recommendations is to continue to order carry out and delivery, and just you know, pick a few places that you really love and make a commitment to kind of support them through this time. Also, I think something that just goes a long way that costs nobody anything is just a nice letter. I got a really nice letter in the mail from a customer who hasn't made it out to the restaurant in a long time, and those kinds of things that we get that just kind of help us carry through, and that emotional uplift is just super huge. So, you know, do carry out delivery, but you know, write a nice letter to your favorite restaurant. Just tell them to keep on trucking. All right. And then we flip. Did I burn it? No, perfect. It's kind of cool. You can really smell the Stella Artois that we put in the batter. It really is kind of giving off this, there's no yeast in the recipe, so anything kind of that yeast related or fermented related that we're smelling that's coming off of this right now is 100% due to the beer, which is super cool. And I would say, kind of like working with this dough with beer for the first time, you can kind of feel the influence in the kind of texture of how this feels in your hand. All right, so now we have the finished scallion pancake. What you want to do a little bit is just dap a little bit of this oil, and we want to just give it a quick little kind of fluff, kind of help loosen up some of those layers, and it gives it a real, it kind of goes from like crunchy hard to fluffy crunchy really quickly. All right, last but not least, all we got to do now is cut it and eat it. Cut it in half. All right, there you go. We got our Taiwanese style scallion pancakes infused with Stella Artois. Thank you, Washingtonian magazine, for the opportunity, and I hope you guys and the crew enjoy these snacks. Once again, I'm Chef Bruner-Yang. Thank you so much, Stella Artois and Washingtonian magazine. This is home for the holidays. Today we made Taiwanese scallion pancakes. From beginning to end, it takes less than 30 minutes. So enjoy this snack, and we'll see you guys at the end of this.